Welcome to String Scale Models. I'm Jason, your host, and I do models and electronics. And today's a bench update. So I have a pretty cool thing I did with my microscope. If you saw my previous videos, I have an AndonStar 470, I believe. I can't look at the back of it at the moment, but it had limitations because of the way that it had a stand. It only had about this much height room to work. So I thought, and I had come across an issue that I needed to fix here. It's a bad camera angle because of the wires. I'm working out repositioning the camera, but I just wanted to do this to show the new setup here, just in a quick format. I'll be doing it more. I'll be going over it more later on a stream. So right there is an LCD connector, and in order to change this, you have to heat it from below. And with my stand that I had on my microscope, which was this stand, excuse me, that this was flipped over. I only had about that much room in height to work with. So what I did was I flipped the microscope over and I mounted it to this boom arm I have right here. So I have this boom arm. It was my keyboard rack. So I have this boom arm and it's clamped there now. It's going to get drilled and screws get put in it because it has holes in it. And then now if you look here, I can tilt this up so you see I got the scope there. This is, if you look at this area right here, that's about full zoom, and then I can go in with digital zoom. I can go in with digital zoom there, so I can get pretty close. That's about as close as I can get. But the best part is I can get far away and have a lot more room to work with. So if I come up here, I have to move the lights out of the way to do this. But if I come up here and I raise this all the way up on its own arm, this is the arm that it came with. I just basically turned it around and then flipped the whole thing over. If I raise this all the way up, get the lights out of the way. Raise this all the way up. It's a little bit tricky with the lights, and then we will focus this in. Now there's that same area on the board, and you can see how much more space, how much more I can see with, and how much more room height I have in there. I don't have a hot air station yet at the moment. I had to send mine back, and I'm waiting for a new one. But I can get in there with a hot air gun. The lighting is not the best, and stuff does move. Like I can tighten up some brackets that are up here to make it more sturdy and things like that. I'm still working on it. And then also over here on this section here, I can actually raise this up to get more working height. And I'll show you why that would be important, because if I come back down here and I give you a shot of the screen and the table, what I can do is I can take my little holder here. Now this is my holder from Scale Modeling. This is a jewelry holder, or engraving holder, I'm sorry. And if I come in here with my little Allen key, and let's see, I have to readjust these pins here. So actually just one right there would be fine. So there we go. So I got it adjusted in there. And then if I come over here, you can see the LCD connector. Get some light on it. And then now I can see the LCD connector. I can heat it from underneath right there like that. I can heat it from underneath, and I should be able to change that connector. Before, with the way the system was, there was no way I could change that connector. And so you can see, I'll move the light out of the way so you can see that underneath I can get to it with the heat gun. I'll put it in the vise a little bit better. This was just me setting it up here. I'm gonna come up with a better system than that. But now I can put my vise on there, and I can hold stuff and still work on it. And if you look at the picture of the connector right here, if you look at the picture, it's not quite all in frame. And that's because it's all the way as high as it will go on its own. So I can move this piece, this bar, and raise it up probably about an inch or two, and then that'll get me the whole connector in frame, yet still give me enough height to zoom in and get close to things. So that's my next step, but I just wanted to share this with you. This is just this part over here. Let me get up here so you can see this. This part up here is just a boom arm for a keyboard or a laptop computer that would go on your table, and then they can also hold monitors. They also had the bracket to where you can hang a monitor from it, and then it bolts to the table. It's got a bar on it to raise it up and down. This particular one comes with two of these boom arms and one of these racks for holding keyboards or laptops, and I'm just mainly using that for the keyboard, and it was off to my side over here that my keyboard was on. So then I came up with this issue. The reason that this came up was because of this LCD connector. I needed to change it. I discovered that the pins were bad on the inside, and I needed to change it. And I knew my microscope could not support changing it, because I needed to heat it from underneath and make sure it was like perfectly lined up. So I already talked to another repair technician, offering to send it off to him and return postage and the new connector altogether, and I was trying to get a price on how much that would cost me. And then 20 minutes later, I was like, I messaged him back, and I'm like, hey man, never mind, I kind of fixed it, and I sent him a picture of this. And yeah, so I'm gonna give this a shot. I can't do it anytime soon. I'm not sure when this video is going to come out, but I'm doing a stream on Wednesday, and I get my new hot air station, but the bent tip nozzles that I need to do this from the underside are on back order, so that's going to take a little bit. My only concern about this is, let's open this up here. My only concern about this is all these components right here on the underside of that connector. Let me just put it on the scope here and show you. See, all these underside connector, all these little resistors and capacitors, and I believe they're diodes. Yeah, diodes. And transistors. So this whole section here, get in here with this whole section right here. So from about there to about there is the LCD connector, and it goes back to about the middle of this, and this whole area has to be heated up enough to melt the solder under the connector. But not only the solder under the connector, but it's got to melt that solder. But this is also the same melting temperature as this solder for this stuff on this side. So I got to be careful not to knock any components when they're molten. And what I'm going to do is, I already have taken a picture of the back of this board so I can compare it to see if there are any missing components when I'm done. And if there are, I'll get some values for those components and I'll just replace them. I should have everything available to me. The only thing I shouldn't have would be the diodes, but I could probably track those down. I mainly need to learn to change LCD connectors, so this will be good practice. And as you can see, I have 3 mangled pins in there. And with the old setup of the scope, there is no way I could look straight down into this connector like this. I could angle the scope and all that stuff, but there really was no way for me to look directly down because of the height of the actual scope, but you could actually see into the, let's see if I can do that. No, apparently not. That's just not going to work. That's weird. Hold on a second. That's why that's on. Alright, let's try this now. Oh, no, both of those are on. No. Nope. I'm not sure why the microscope's not working. Let's try it with that. Yes, that works. Yes, that's me. Let's try it with that. There we go. Okay, so let's... Yeah, see, there you go. You can see that on the screen now. So you can see the bent pins better. And then also now I can examine the USB ports with better ease. See, I can really get into the USB ports with the setup like this. So what I'm going to do is, I showed you what it looks like and how it works on the bench. I am going to pull it apart and show you how I did it. So I am going to reposition stuff on the bench, and then I'll be back with how I did this. Okay, I am repositioned here. I have the side camera up so you can see the scope. This is the scope put back together in its original form, how it comes. So if you have it in this orientation, and if you haven't purchased your scope and you want to do this from the beginning, I will show you how to do that when I take this apart. But this is how the scope works. You plug it in here, and then, you plug it in on the top. I'm not going to hook it all up because I'm about to take this apart. And if you look here on this side camera, this is all the way up here. And if you look, you have, let's just take a look at this right here. You have roughly, all the way up, you have roughly about 2¼ inches of working space. And if you come all the way down, your scope is going to bottom out, and you still have, a good, what is that, a good inch of travel that could happen. You have a good 1.5 inches of travel that the scope doesn't even use. So with it all the way up, you get more travel, but this does have a nice feature, and I used it very often, where you can tilt it like so, and you can still work on it. You get a little bit of an angle. It's a little difficult with QFN chips to get them positioned right, but now, I got a working height of about 5 inches. So, and then, I can use more of the, I can use all of the travel on it. So let's just lock that off. So, and it worked for me. It did. It really worked. But I used it for the switches. But as you can see here, this LCD connector needs to be hung high enough or off enough to me to get a nozzle of a heat gun underneath to heat it up. And I could hang it off the bench and heat it up, but then I have no use of my microscope to do that, and that would be very difficult to line that back up. So I thought about using this DSLR camera right here with a macro lens, setting that up somehow to get the shot and lining it up that way. And then at that point I was just like, no, I don't think so. And then I looked at the microscope here, and I was looking at the way that it attaches in here, and I was like, wow, that could literally be flipped upside down. And then I was thinking of a way of mounting this bracket onto here, and then I was also My first edition was not to use this base plate at all, but to take this bracket off, and I'll show you what that looks like. Let's go ahead and get this camera off here. You just undo these little locking screws here, slide it out. So there's the camera's out. So we have these little screws here. So this is the frame, and I was like, okay, well, I can flip this upside down and then use it. So I, was taking this off, if I can find. So I come in here and I take this off right here. If you just bought this, they just don't put this part on yet. And I'll go through my brainstorming idea. So this is where I was. I was like, okay, space is worthless to me. I can't use it. I want to take this frame thing here and I want to mount it on this right here. So I have these holes here, and I was like, okay, if I line it up like that, it's going to be really, really crooked. Okay, I could drill some holes in here and work that way. So I'll drill me some holes and I'll screw this in, and if I can get this in the picture better, hold on. There we go. I was going to drill some holes and screw that in. In all reality, this would work just fine. This would be a acceptable design. You put this in here like that after, and then you have your travel up and down, and that would actually work really well. But it involves drilling holes in this metal plate and getting them lined up. I mean, these are already threaded holes, so you could technically use the screws it came with and do that, and that is a very viable option. I wasn't about to do that. I could do it. I got the mini mill. I could drill that out accurately, no problem. I've done machining my whole life. That's not an issue. But I didn't want to, I was just thinking about it, and I was like, nah, I don't feel like dealing with all that, and then I have to figure out what I'm going to do with my lights. I was going to be, okay, so I mount that upside down, and then I keep using the base with this like that. Okay, I keep using the base, and then I have to put my tile on it to make it more stable, and then when I put the vise on it to raise it up off the ground, it does work, and it is a viable method for doing this, and it may be something that I move to in the future. But for just a quick and easy way of doing it, you can actually turn this unit here around on here like this, so it hangs off the back end. And you're like, oh, well, I don't know if that's a good idea or not. I don't know if I want that hanging off the back end. But it does work, and I'll show you what I mean here. You take this, and let's just get the screw back in here. So, and I think in the future I will screw that to that. But if I do it, I will not do it in the shop. I will take it to my old job and just have it done in like 2 seconds on the CNC or just the manual mill with the proper tools. I mean, I have tools that will do it, but it's not going to be fun, and it's not going to be easy. So basically, you have it set like this. Now the camera will go in there. Camera will go in there upside down. And basically, this plate right here that is on here, I could put it probably more in shot there. This plate that's on there, it's very tight now because I wanted it tight, but it can move up and down, and it actually goes pretty square flat down this way. So, and this is what will hold a monitor. This will actually come off. You can undo this and slide this off, but it's attached on there now. So I was thinking, okay, well, if I want to use this on this bracket, I will put this in there, and I will drill some holes and screw this down. And then I was like, well, if I'm drilling holes in this anyways, why not just do my first method of attaching it? And then I was looking at it like, okay, so I could have it in that orientation, or I could have it sticking out more. I could have it over this way, but then the screen is to the side, and I would have to tilt it this way. But that would be good, because then I could, really hang it off the bench and do stuff like that. So, I looked at this method here, this type of angle on it, and this seemed to be good. And then I tested it, and then it seemed like this way was better because it got me more to the center of the bench, and I could still come off the bench and do some stuff like that. So this is the method I went with, and I got some of these little spring clamps here, and I just clamped each corner. Unfortunately, I did this with the camera on it, so it was a little bit more difficult the first time I did it because I was just, experimenting and testing and things like that. So I clamped this on there, and that is pretty steady. You can move that around with the camera on it, but until I get these screws in it, I put on 2 of these clamps here, 2 of these C clamps, just to double up to make sure it is secured so it's not going to knock off because of the little spring clamps. This is engineering overkill, but that's how I engineer things. I overkill everything humanly possible when it comes to engineering, and then I still have my boom range of options here on this, and then I have a middle bend here that I can do. And then basically you just tuck the lights out of the way for a little bit, and then you come in here and you drop your camera into the slot. Make sure it's sitting flush down there, and you tighten up your little screws. Not too tight. Make sure your focus still moves. Angle your screen to your position that you need. I'll just move it back there. And then you can come in here and put your lights down. And then you take it. I wrapped up my power on and off cables because they were unruly and long. So I tuck them up there like that. And then I plug in this in there. And I plug in my lights there. And then I have a USB port that was over here just for my microscope and other things. And then there we go. And then I do have positional lights. The lights do get in the way, and I'll show you on the side camera here. Let me adjust the side camera here so you can see this better. Okay, so there's the side camera, better shot of that. So if you look here, going up with the wheels, it goes all the way up, but it gets a little pinchy on the goosenecks with your fingers. So if you want to use it all the way up, I just have to pull those out and then reposition them in like that shape there. But this is pretty far out, and I've only used this for my vise setup here to get high enough out, and I could actually make it to where I don't have to bring it all the way up because I can raise this actual arm that it's attached to. So this arm right here, like I was saying earlier, I can raise that to get me the more height. But if you are looking to buy one of these Andon scopes and you are concerned about the base and the amount of usability that you would get in its natural configuration, well, you can easily do this with some clamps and one of these computer monitor arms that clamp on your bench. And it's pretty nice if you even you can get one of these computer arm mounts that have 2 arms on it, and you could put on the lower arm the microscope, and up higher on the bar you could actually put a monitor and feed your scope in there, and then you have a completely adjustable scope with a 27-inch monitor, and you're good to go. You have the nice monitor there, you have the scope plugged into it, and you can see it on there, and you still have the little screen. You can still run it through a capture card. You can still do all that, and you have the monitor there. And These are reasonably priced, these boom arm things. The boom arms, the 2-1 like I got, I believe was $48, and it comes with 2 of these arms and the keyboard mount. It comes with 2 of those. I got that. I think that was $48. I've had that for a while. I also have a setup over here with 3 of them because I used 1 from that side for this side, so I could have 3 arms over there. So that is that. So I might end up getting another one of those so I can do the arm on top with a monitor like off to the side, or even get my keyboard rack back or something like that. But that is the scope set up like that, and the scope is between $200 and $250 on Amazon. It is a very good scope. It's depending. Oh yeah, I wanted to check the model number of this, so let me see if I can swing it. It doesn't say, seriously. Well, it doesn't say anywhere on this scope what its model number is. That's just a little odd. I'm going to unplug this here because this is weird. Huh. Well, I have an unboxing of this on the channel, but that is strange that it doesn't have the model number of this. I believe it's the 470 or 407. It's 4 something, maybe 407D could be, but that is extremely strange that there is not a model number written on this housing. It's not even on the base or anything. No, it's not written anywhere. That is strange. They have AndonStar on there, but not the model number. It is a 7-inch screen. It does go to my capture card, as you saw, so it's fantastic. So this is just, well, it was meant to be a quick video, but it turned out to be long. But this is how I set this setup up. I'm going to be going over it on a live stream, so if you watch that live stream and you made it this far through the video, you are dedicated, and I greatly appreciate it. Anyways, here are the links to social media. Here is links to my Patreon page. I would like to say thank you so much, and I hope you guys